News, I'm Suzanne McIntyre with word from the Uruguayan and Argentinian president to speak about hosting the official joint 2030 FIFA World Cup. Back in 2010, the CONMEBOL, or CSF, South American Football Confederation, backed the bid of both Argentina and Uruguay to host a joint stage for the World Cup. Very appropriate, seeing as the 100th anniversary performance would be hosted in part of its home nation. In 1930, the first ever inaugural World Cup game edition took place in Uruguay, who were also able to hold the title as the first champions. That year, Uruguay had celebrated its centenary of independence, as well as clinching the title as football champions of the Summer Olympics 2 years before. The idea for CONMEBOL began in fact in 1916 from a Uruguayan, Hector Rivadavia, who held the title of football director and past journalist. He was the honorary president of the CONMEBOL from the years 1920 to 1936. Now again, the combined efforts of CONMEBOL as one of two main confederations working with FIFA, the Federation International of Football Association, which have taken about half of the World Cup tournaments, will proudly take position of hosting the games. It has been known that unstoppable countries, Brazil and Argentina, remain in the top 7 highest-ranked teams in the world, Brazil at the number 1 spot, far in the lead, having won more than 5 World Cup victories. Nevertheless, due to the rotation policy, a South American team host country was due around this time anyways, seeing as all other continents have had their turn for the past 6 World Cup games. Another South American win may just go along with the game because the unbeatable Hispanic teams have never lost a game on their own turf.
So we all know that Brazil is a growing world power, but a lot of us don't know how or why it got there. First off, Brazil didn't become a superpower overnight. Brazil is finally catching up with the other world powers, some say. Brazil is self-sustainable, which is a huge role in its rise. It doesn't have to import huge amounts of foreign resources. Brazil actually is not dependent on petroleum from the Middle East. It produces its own fuel from sugarcane. Brazil was already doing well with being green back in 2010, when a lot of countries weren't. More than 85% of their energy came from renewable resources. Actually, Brazil has a lot of resources to export like iron, ore, gold, sugarcane, granite, platinum, gems, and timber. Brazil is big on hydroelectrical energy, probably due to the fact that Brazil remains the country with the largest supply of fresh water. It's good for Brazil economically and ecologically. Another adding factor to their power is their size. Decades ago, Brazil already had the ingredients to be a world power. It was large in size, and population could grow a lot before it would be a problem. They had a whole third of the world's hydroelectrical energy back in 2010, and the number hasn't deviated since then. 14 years ago, Brazil hosted the 2016 Olympics. The Olympics were the time the rest of the world saw not only how culturally rich they'd become, but also their economic prosperity. That was the point when the idea of Brazil becoming a world power came into the public radar. Over the last 50 years, Brazil has had a great economic growth. In 2009, Brazilian money was actually stronger than the dollar, 34%, one year leading to their rise. The percentage of car ownership raised 25% in 1 year. In fact, they had become the 5th largest producer of cars in the world.
And now, an update on the Japanese moon base. The JAXA, Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, started this project in 2020 with hopes of settling a man on the moon. And after years of hard work, it is nearly finished. Hoshimi was started in 2028 with Haruto Sato, Takumi Kida, Yuzuki Sasaki, and Nobuo Takano have been there for 2 years already. Soon another 2 will be sent up, Haru Nakano and Yakino Kato, as the base is growing quickly. The base is a mobile base but stays near the lunar pole. The mobility of Hoshimi allows it to explore the moon and makes sending equipment and supplies simpler. The JAXA can send new parts to the moon in the path of Hoshimi, and they can attach the parts to the base and continue on its way. Adding the new parts makes the base grow over time, so soon new people will be able to be sent up. The base is forced to stay near the lunar pole because in most places there are 2 weeks of daylight and then 2 weeks of night, and the solar panels can't work in conditions like that. The poles are in a constant twilight, and solar panels can produce energy from that light. It is also constantly accessible from the space station, which can be very helpful. Hoshimi and its crew is an important step into the future. Not only are we now able to look at and study our moon like never before, but one moon base could mean more in the near future, and the moon's resources could be used. The moon has liquid oxygen, which is a propellant used in cryogenic rockets, and metals like iron and titanium. These resources could be extremely useful when building on the moon, and if space travel ever becomes more convenient, they could be brought back to Earth.
It's like cut out everything after a historic moment. And now for the weather.
And how's the weather out there, Joe?
It's hot.
And has global warming killed us all yet, Joe?
Not quite.
Thanks, Joe.
And that was the weather. Overpopulation. It's there, and it's huge. Our own girth will soon be the death of us if we do not find a way to contain the masses of our people we produce every day. 6 people are born every second, 360 every minute, 21,600 every hour, over 518,000 every day. You get the idea about how many people are produced. Certainly some measures are being taken to prevent couples from having more children. China has had a one-child policy for over 60 years, and the breadth of exceptions to this policy has decreased as the situation grows more desperate. In many countries, the U.S. included, tax laws are structured so as to encourage couples to have only 2 children. But is this enough? As you can see on this graph, human population has been low and unobtrusive for most of its existence. This halving dip here is the Black Plague. After that, population grows steadily, going straight through the roof after the Industrial Revolution. Population will only grow faster and faster as more people are born to have their own children, and soon the planet will no longer be able to sustain our species, let alone any others. Certainly, people will die, and national laws will help somewhat, but this is only a microscopic slowing of the inevitable. Not only will people continue to have children, more than 2 in many cases, but as technology ever increases and fewer people die from non-natural causes, population growth will only be sped. And can we stop this, allow more people to die, or ignore the millions of deaths from disease and other untimely causes? Of course not. We must always strive to improve the quality of life. But we only have so much time until the planet just can't hold us all. The quality of life will only decrease as there are fewer and fewer resources. And when will this happen? Only time will tell.